They used to tell you that endings were supposed to be conversations. That closure was something earned, something deserved. But in 2025, endings rarely sound like anything. They arrive like a quiet erasure, a soft fade from existence, as though your memories were deleted, not broken. You call it ghosting, but the new version has evolved into something colder, cleaner, and more strategic: eco-ghosting. Eco-ghosting isn't just about vanishing. It's about gradually withdrawing in ways that feel natural. The person doesn't block you. They don't even stop liking your posts. They simply reduce emotional intensity until their absence feels justified. They keep a small trace of presence to make the disappearance appear gentle, not cruel. You don't even notice the exit until the silence becomes permanent. This is the new goodbye, and a form of self-preservation, dressed as emotional minimalism. People are no longer ending relationships. They are optimizing them. Every gesture is measured. Every message filtered through an invisible cost-benefit lens. How much emotional energy does this interaction require? And if the answer feels heavy, the algorithm of the heart simply deletes you. But here's what lies underneath. Eco-ghosting is not about you. It's a reflection of our age, the age of exhaustion. We have too many connections, too many fragments of intimacy, too many almost relationships that consume bandwidth but never evolve into meaning. So people begin to conserve themselves, not out of cruelty but out of depletion. It's not personal rejection, it's emotional triage. Yet there's a darker layer. When someone eco-ghosts, they leave behind a psychological vacuum. No closure, no conflict, no explanation. And because the mind cannot process incomplete stories, the one who's left begins to invent one. You replay every message, every emoji, every pause, trying to locate where the silence began. This is how ghosting maintains its power, by transforming you into your own interrogator. In the philosophy of Byung-Chul Han, the modern world has replaced confrontation with disappearance. We no longer say no, we simply vanish, because vanishing is painless and therefore efficient. Conflict requires courage, silence requires none. So people choose the clean exit, a performance of serenity masking emotional cowardice. Eco-ghosting is the final evolution of avoidance, a moral retreat that looks polite on the surface, yet leaves devastation underneath. It's not just a personal act. It's a cultural symptom. It shows how fragile connection has become, how afraid we are of responsibility, and how emotional intimacy now feels like an energy debt no one wants to pay. Welcome to the new emotional economy, where even goodbyes are optimized for comfort. The psychology behind eco-ghosting. To understand eco-ghosting, you must understand the psyche of the avoidant. Ghosting is not born from cruelty alone. It emerges from a deep fear of being seen during discomfort. The modern psyche cannot handle guilt, confrontation, or emotional weight. We have been trained to escape anything that threatens our internal peace, even if that peace is built on lies. The eco-ghoster tells themselves, "I don't want to hurt anyone." But beneath that justification lies a subconscious calculation. I don't want to feel the pain of explaining myself. It's not compassion, it's self-preservation disguised as kindness. Psychologically, eco-ghosting operates like an emotional fade-out rather than a cut-off. The person begins to slowly withdraw investment. Replies get shorter. Interest feels mechanical. Calls get delayed. Plans are postponed with soft excuses like, "I've been busy" or "I just need space." Every act of withdrawal gives the illusion of mutual drifting. That's the genius of eco-ghosting. It creates the appearance of natural distance, so the ghoster avoids accountability. In truth, what they're doing is maintaining emotional ambiguity, a safe zone between connection and absence. It allows them to stay morally innocent, because if the relationship dies slowly, who can say who killed it? Jung would call this the triumph of the persona, the mask the ego wears to appear civilized. The ghoster's mask is politeness. They tell themselves they are gentle, spiritual, emotionally evolved, yet behind that facade is a fear of depth. They cannot tolerate the chaos that truth brings. They want harmony but not honesty, peace but not confrontation. So they turn withdrawal into virtue, a silent exit masquerading as maturity. But what's fascinating is that the eco-ghoster doesn't disappear from everyone. They only withdraw from the relationships that mirror their own insecurities. In Jungian terms, the other person activates their shadow, the parts of themselves they refuse to face. So they vanish not from boredom but from reflection. Your presence reminds them of their emotional immaturity. So they choose distance to avoid the mirror. And yet eco-ghosting also feeds the ego, because maintaining partial contact, staying connected online, leaving digital traces, keeps them in control of how they're remembered. They don't want you to hate them. They want you to miss them. It's a subtle form of manipulation, a psychological ghost light left on to preserve power over the narrative. In this way, eco-ghosting becomes a paradox, a compassionate cruelty. It hurts less in the beginning, but it lasts longer. It teaches you that indifference can look like peace, and distance can feel like grace. It's the art of disappearing without being the villain, and yet leaving behind a haunting silence that never fully dies. The eco-ghoster believes they are escaping responsibility, but in reality they are accumulating spiritual debt. Because unspoken goodbyes don't vanish. They echo in the subconscious, waiting to resurface. Why women are leading the eco-ghosting era. There's a reason the majority of modern eco-ghosters are women, not because women are colder, but because they are more emotionally aware of when energy exchange stops serving them. Women have grown weary of emotional labor, of explaining, educating, and waiting for emotional reciprocity that never arrives. So they disappear before the exhaustion becomes resentment. What looks like cold detachment is often emotional self-defense. For years, women were conditioned to provide closure for others, to soothe, to explain, to be polite in leaving. But in this new digital era, many have learned that emotional availability can be weaponized against them. The softer she is, the longer she is drained. The clearer she is, the more she is guilted. So she evolves, and evolution in this case looks like silence. Yet not all eco-ghosting by women is self-protective. Some do it from power, not pain. They ghost to maintain mystique, to preserve control over a narrative that keeps the man guessing. They understand that uncertainty breeds obsession. That mystery is the currency of desire. So they orchestrate their withdrawal like a performance, not out of fear, but out of strategy. This is where modern dating blurs psychology with theater. A woman might still watch your stories like your posts, or send subtle signals, not to reconnect, but to stay in your awareness. It's a digital haunting. You think she's gone, but she's still everywhere, lingering in your algorithm, occupying your mental bandwidth. Her silence becomes the loudest message. I could return at any time. In a culture addicted to attention, silence becomes power, and the woman who masters silence becomes unforgettable. But beneath the strategy lies a deeper truth. Women are eco-ghosting because they've learned that most men cannot meet them emotionally in real time. They're tired of fixing, hoping, and being told to relax. So they take control the only way modern technology allows, by fading out, digitally and emotionally. Eco-ghosting then becomes a statement, a rebellion against the emotional imbalance of modern romance. It's not a declaration of indifference, it's a reclamation of energy. It says, if you cannot meet me where I am, I will quietly disappear rather than scream for your attention. But this newfound power has a shadow side, because when silence becomes a default weapon, real communication dies. People begin to treat detachment as wisdom, forgetting that true maturity is not vanishing, but ending things with honesty and grace. So while women may dominate the eco-ghosting trend, they also risk inheriting the loneliness it breeds. Eco-ghosting might save time, energy, and self-respect. But it also removes the beauty of final words, of closure, of the sacred goodbye that once defined human connection. How eco-ghosting reshapes men's psychology. When a woman disappears slowly, it does something profound to a man's psyche. Not because he misses her presence, but because he is denied the dignity of understanding. A man can recover from rejection. He can rebuild from betrayal, but he struggles to recover from uncertainty. And eco-ghosting thrives on uncertainty. It's not a clean break, it's an invisible fracture. The masculine mind seeks patterns, logic, closure. He wants to identify the exact moment things changed. The sentence she didn't reply to, the tone shift he misread, the energy that quietly turned away. He begins to replay the last days of connection like a detective, scanning for evidence of failure. But there is no evidence, because eco-ghosting isn't built on actions. It's built on a mission. You can't pinpoint where someone faded. You only realize they're gone once you reach for them and feel nothing there. This limbo corrodes a man's confidence. It makes him question not just the relationship, but his perception. Did he imagine the chemistry? Was the connection ever real? Or was he emotionally catfished, loved through convenience, not conviction? he starts doubting his intuition. And when a man begins doubting his intuition, he loses the inner compass that guides attraction, leadership, and purpose. That's why eco-ghosting leaves a deeper wound than traditional rejection. Rejection is external. Someone says no. But eco-ghosting internalizes the pain. It makes the victim say, maybe it's me. In philosophical terms, it turns a relational act into a metaphysical question. If someone disappears without explanation, does the love we shared still exist? This echoes Nietzsche's notion of the eternal recurrence of uncertainty. The ghoster lives freely, unburdened by guilt. The ghosted lives repeatedly through the confusion, reliving what was never concluded. Modern men are especially vulnerable to this because they are emotionally underdeveloped. In the language of grief, they were raised to act, to move on, to conquer, not to process ambiguity. So when confronted with the quiet rejection of eco-ghosting, they don't know where to place the pain. They can't fight what they can't see. The digital architecture of disappearance. Eco-ghosting could only exist in a digital world. Our technology has redesigned how we vanish, replacing confrontation with quiet algorithms. We live in a landscape where attention is currency, and withdrawal is the new punishment. You don't have to block someone to erase them. You just have to stop feeding their visibility. Instagram stories, read receipts, online indicators. All these micro features create the illusion of presence while enabling emotional absence. You can watch someone's life unfold in pixels while refusing to be part of it. You can monitor their pain, measure their silence, and still remain invisible. That's the paradox of eco-ghosting. You remain close enough to remind them you exist, but distant enough to never explain why. This architecture favors the ghoster. It gives them control without confrontation. They can decide when to appear, liking a photo here, replying to a story there, just enough to reset curiosity. And the algorithm rewards them for it. Each reappearance sparks engagement, dopamine, obsession. Thus, eco-ghosting isn't just emotional withdrawal, it's algorithmic manipulation. The digital platforms by design make disappearing seductive, because every notification is a reminder of one's power to affect another person's nervous system. To vanish, then, becomes the ultimate act of control. You regulate someone's mood by regulating your digital visibility. You're not just leaving, you're programming absence. But there's a cost to living this way. When you can disappear at any time, you never fully arrive. You exist in fragments, half present, half withholding, and the psyche begins to decay under that pressure. Because authentic connection requires risk. The risk of being known, the risk of being wrong, the risk of staying. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han warned that our culture is addicted to positivity, to avoiding negativity, confrontation, or discomfort. Eco-ghosting is a product of that addiction. It's emotional cleanliness, cutting ties without getting dirty. We don't break hearts anymore. We unsubscribe from them. We don't leave. We quietly reduce engagement until we vanish from the feed of someone's life. The emotional economy of 2025. Why love became transactional. Eco-ghosting is more than a dating behavior. It's a symptom of a world where emotions have been monetized and attention has become a finite resource. We live in what sociologists call the attention economy. Every message, every post, every reply carries a psychological cost. People are not avoiding connection. They are managing resources, treating affection like energy tokens to be spent carefully. That's why silence has become seductive. It's the cheapest form of self-protection. You owe no explanation, you save time, and you preserve image. But this efficiency has turned intimacy into a calculation. Before opening up, people subconsciously ask, will this conversation bring value to me? Will it drain me or feed me? And if the answer doesn't promise instant gratification, they retreat. Love, once measured in devotion, is now measured in bandwidth. Ghosting isn't about cruelty, it's about overload. Too many conversations, too many micro-connections, too many emotional tabs open at once. To survive, people begin closing tabs. Sometimes the wrong ones. Women, in particular, have become economists of emotion. They sense depletion early. They recognize emotional imbalance when giving outweighs receiving, and they withdraw before collapse. This is not just psychological, it's existential self-defense. But the danger of this economic model is that it teaches the heart to function like a business. You start investing only in what gives guaranteed return. You avoid uncertainty, chaos, and mystery, the very elements that make love transformative. In protecting your energy, you starve your soul. Nietzsche once wrote that he who cannot bear chaos will never give birth to a dancing star. Eco-ghosting is the modern avoidance of that chaos. It's the sterilization of emotion, love without friction, intimacy without depth, endings without grief. And yet people still crave connection. They scroll endlessly, searching for a face that feels safe. But the very behaviors designed to protect them ensure they never find it. We are all running from the same fear, that the next person will vanish too. So we vanish first. In 2025, the new heartbreak isn't being left. It's realizing that no one ever truly arrived. The spiritual consequences of disappearing. The most dangerous thing about eco-ghosting is not the silence itself. It's what the silence creates inside the person who disappears. When you cut ties without explanation, you think you're escaping emotional burden. But what you're really doing is building invisible walls within your own psyche, barriers that eventually imprison you. Every avoided confrontation becomes a ghost that follows you. You carry the weight of unfinished stories, the texts you never replied to, the emotions you never expressed, the truths you never faced. And with each silent exit, your emotional muscles weaken. You lose the ability to endure discomfort, to speak truth, to be vulnerable in the face of pain. Carl Jung warned that what you resist persists. The parts of yourself that you silence do not disappear, they return as projections. The next person you date, the next friend you drift from, the next partner who ghosts you, all become reflections of the avoidance you've cultivated. The ghoster becomes the haunted. That's the cruel symmetry of eco-ghosting. The silence you inflict eventually consumes you, because when you silence others, you also silence the voice within that seeks connection. You begin to mistake detachment for peace, numbness for healing, solitude for strength. But deep inside, the psyche knows the difference. It begins to ache, not for attention, but for meaning. In the long term, chronic ghosting leads to emotional disassociation. You stop feeling deeply because feeling requires responsibility. You stop apologizing because you no longer perceive your impact. You stop loving because love requires the courage to stay when it's inconvenient. This is the true tragedy, not the broken relationships, but the erosion of empathy. Spiritually, eco-ghosting disconnects you from your own humanity, because to vanish without word is to deny the sacred weight of presence, the acknowledgement that every encounter, no matter how brief, shapes another soul. When you disappear without closure, you reject that sacred exchange. You treat connection like data, something to be deleted when inconvenient. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han called this the transparency sickness. In our desire to keep everything clean and positive, we erase the darkness that gives depth to intimacy. We choose easy exits over meaningful endings. We delete people as if deleting pain also deletes memory. But memory has its own will and it lingers. It repeats, it whispers, "You were here once." The return to depth. There is a truth that no algorithm can erase. Every act of love, every goodbye, every silence leaves an imprint. No one truly disappears. We are all echoes in one another's stories, even if we never speak again. Eco-ghosting might seem like the perfect exit. No drama, no confrontation, no guilt. But what it really removes is the human element that makes connection transformative. Without endings, we don't evolve. Without pain, we don't grow. Without saying goodbye, we never learn how to love better next time. If you've been ghosted, understand this. Their silence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their fear. Fear of discomfort, fear of vulnerability, fear of looking into the mirror of truth that love inevitably holds up. Their silence is not your failure, it's their unfinished work. Do not chase closure from someone who is allergic to honesty. Instead, create your own closure by understanding that disappearance is its own confession. If you have ghosted others, and even softly, even politely, know that the act still carries weight. Each unsent message is a fragment of karma. You cannot build depth while practicing disappearance. The soul demands integrity, to face what you feel, to communicate what you mean, to close what you open. That is the foundation of real emotional power. In the language of Jung, wholeness is not achieved by running from your shadow, but by integrating it. To become whole, you must face the parts of you that hide behind silence. You must learn to end things not with avoidance, but with courage, to speak the uncomfortable truth, to offer the closure you wish you had received. Because the truth is, silence might protect your peace, but honesty protects your soul. The new generation will have to choose. Do we keep ghosting until love becomes extinct? Or do we risk being human again, flawed, awkward, vulnerable, but real? Perhaps that's the revolution we need. Not a digital detox, but a spiritual reconnection. A return to conversation. A return to presence. A return to endings that honor what was once shared. So the next time you feel the urge to fade away quietly, remember this. Disappearing doesn't make you free. It makes you invisible to the very connection you crave. Be brave enough to say goodbye, because the most powerful souls don't vanish. They face the ending with grace, and in doing so, they remain unforgettable.